And I'm not talking about reduce the CO2 emissions. That is easy, super easy, right? You just can improve your energy consumption or whatever it is. But sustainability for me is understanding how you can make more out of the same. And that's why when you can match process and technology, you are able to do what I am doing right now, or what I'm trying to do. It's not easy.
Yeah, so it comes back again, not having just a machine put there and then the machine doesn't know have a solution and then find the right way for different routes, for different scrap types to get the optimal output. And then again, it's so fast that it comes back into your pocket when you get 7.5% more out of the same thing. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gold Casting Podcast. And as we have the alloys our focus topic in 2026, we have to start right from the beginning. Secondary alloys are the key thing. So for us, the big question is how to turn dirty scrap into a gold casting. And for that, we have Julio Quintero with us. Welcome to the Gold Casting Podcast.
Hey, no, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. It's my first time that I've been invited to a podcast, so I'm very excited. First time.
You have to start one to get one, right?
Yeah.
I started a consultancy so I could call myself CEO when I was 25.
There you go.
Anyway, warmly welcome, Julio.
Thank you.
We know you pretty well, but I don't think everybody in Europe, especially, or maybe India also, knows you that well. So could you give a quick resume of your work and you as a person and what you do?
Sure. This is going to be interesting for you guys, definitely. I'm from Colombia. So I came from Colombia into the US like around 9 years ago. I'm a material engineer. That's my background. And back in Colombia, I used to have my own company and do some consultant services mostly for the ferrous side of the melting industry. Then, for destiny reasons, my wife was taken from a company. She's a speech pathologist. That company brought her to New York City. And 3 years later, they said, oh, you want to keep working with us? We can bring your husband and we can give him the papers. And I was like, oh, this is a great deal. Why not? So 1 week before I came into the US, Hormesa CEO, that is the company that I work with, offered me a job because I was like having nothing to do here. So I said, I'm going to sell my company. I sold and I took all the money. I gave it to my dad and I said, this is your money. Now I'm going to make this trip to the US and I will see what's going on. So 1 week before, he offered me this job and I was like, oh, great. I have something to do, right? And was related to my career. When I was in Colombia, I thought that my English was very good because I used to watch movies in English and I was like, I can speak English. It's not an issue. And I used to come to the US very often on vacation. Well, when you face reality, it's completely different. My English was really bad. I went to Spain, that is where we have the headquarters of the company, to have this training, but the training was terrible. I was not able to understand how to sell whatever kind of solution that we can provide to the market. And I came back to the US after my training and I was like, okay, now what? So I started digging into the old database that we used to have for the potential customers. And I tried to reach out to them with my English. Terrible. So I was calling them, not understanding a single word about what they were looking for. And when they asked me, oh, you have a funny accent, where are you from? And this is going to be very interesting for you guys because for me it was very challenging. I said, oh, I'm from Colombia. And the first thing they said was, oh, cocaine and Pablo Escobar and the drug lords. And I was like, damn, dude. I know it's a fascinated world. I understand that. And I don't care. It is what it is. But I was trying to sell something that wasn't, what they were thinking about.
Or exactly. A new TV series.
Exactly. So for me, it was like a little bit frustrated. Then I started asking them what they were looking for from the point of view of solutions, and I didn't understand anything. So what I started doing was in the FBI, they have something that they call criminal profile research, that I have some friends that they use that in order to make the same approach to CEOs and different type of companies, so you can understand very well who you will talk, right? So I started using that approach and understanding the kind of needs they will have. And I went to, because we didn't have any AI at that point, that was 2017. So I went to Google Translator and I put maybe 10 or 20 different potential questions that I think they will have, and I put the answers. I called them, and once I heard something similar to the question, I started reading. So that was my first approach. Then, during the next 3 years, I couldn't sell anything. We almost go in bankruptcy. It was super complicated. And I remember it was 2019. My little baby comes to me and he said, "Daddy, I want some milk." That was a Sunday. And I remember I was having this conversation through WhatsApp with the CEO, and he said, "Julio, if you are not able to sell something, we will close the company." So I took a look to my child and I said, "What if I cannot provide? What do we do?" So I was a little bit desperate at that time. So when the COVID hits the US, I said, I have nothing to lose. I will start doing the things in the way that I think I should do it. So I started something that we, at the beginning, before being Dirty Scrap, that is the podcast that I have right now, I started something that we used to call e-experts. That's supposed to be experts in the aluminum industry that will allow me to have some knowledge and put someone on my side, very well known, that will give me some publicity so the people can start knowing me a little bit more, so I will make myself someone in this industry. That's the way that I started. Then after e-expert start having more traction, I changed to Dirty Scrap. This is the part of the podcast from the point of view of the solutions that we provide, but I don't want to use this platform as a commercial platform. But in 2020, I was able to sell my first project. So we went from $0 to $200,000 a year up to $15 million like this, because I was pushing very hard to do it. Was very complicated.
This is furnaces from Hormesa,
but
right?
it's furnaces, but we also integrate different companies. The thing that I understood when I was doing my research is I don't want to be just a furnace supplier, because I will compete with big players here, so I will have no room. So what I did is make myself the biggest integrator of solutions in the US. That means that I am integrating, I will say, around 15 different companies around the globe, German companies, Italian companies, Slovenian companies, even US local companies, in order to provide the right solution for the customer. And I took a totally different approach. I am not saying, oh, I do everything. No, I am saying, hey, I have this open book for you guys with all these experts in different aspects of the solution that they will provide a lot of input, and you can use all of them as a resource. So that make us a little bit different, right? So long story short, that was pretty long, but that's the kind of story that that I can bring to the table about what I did into the US to make myself a little bit well known.
Very interesting story, I would say. This is why we're not interrupting you. I mean,
right.
it's fascinating
right.
when you live in a country like Sweden that is so totally woke, and stuff. And if TikTok breaks down for 15 minutes, the whole country stops.
Definitely.
So going to New York and not knowing English, I mean, that's a little bit more of a challenge, I would say.
It was.
So, Dirty Scrap. You know a lot about scrap. Starting with the first educational question, and this comes, excuse me now, but it comes from ignorance, because I think most people in Europe, at least, high-pressure die-casting foundries, they're running one alloy, and they have been doing this for 3-4 generations, typical mom-and-pop foundry. Nothing wrong with it, but they buy the same thing and they negotiate the price, and the price goes up and the price goes down, and they exchange that money with their end customer. So could you walk us through how is actually a secondary alloy made from the pile on the ground, or where do you want to start?
Well, this is a very interesting question. The first thing I will say is I think we need to understand better that the recycling industry should be just one industry itself, because we have the scrapyard, then we have the secondary aluminum producers, and then we have the foundry industry, right? And obviously, I am not bringing the primary sector here, but we will talk about it. Now, saying that, the problem that I'm seeing is sometimes the communication between the scrapyard and the secondary aluminum producers is not the best. So what we are seeing is we don't have a clear path that allowed us to increase our recycling rates because we don't have a good communication. So how the secondary industry works? First of all, definitely we need collection store for the aluminum scrap, post-consumer scrap. Some of them they don't like to call dirty scrap because it's not dirty the whole time, and maybe dirty scrap is the wrong way to catalog this type of aluminum raw material, but it is what it is. It's dirty, and if you go to a scrapyard, it's not the best place to go, right? That's at least what we have in our brain. But definitely, if you approach to the scrapyard, it's a beautiful place where you can learn a lot, and also it's a place that is supporting every economy in the world. So the way that this works is you have collection centers. Then you collect all the scrap. You send the scrap to the scrapyard, and if they have good practices, they will do as much as they can to separate and segregate all the different type of materials. So let's stop a little bit there and let's talk about sorting and segregation technology that I think is what is missing here in the US. In Europe, the European market is completely different. The European market, they are more into, okay, let's try to have our recycling rates here. So if you go to Germany, it's like 90%. It's crazy. Spain, 72, 75%. The whole Europe, as an average, is around 75%. Brazil, 90%. No, in UBC, Brazil is 100% recyclable. Here, 40%. It's crazy. And I understand that this is
40% in the US.
40% for the UBC. Is too low, too low. One of the issues is we have 50 states here, but just 10 of those 50 states has a good recycling centers. But remember, it's not about just infrastructure. It's also about mindset. And the problem with the mindset, mostly here in the US, is capitalism, right? You have a car for 5 years and then you need to change it. In Colombia, if you go to a regular house, you can have a really nice car, and then you have a car that's been sitting there for 30 years, still working, and you're still using it, right? Not here. If you have your TV and is broken, you don't go and try to fix it. No, you replace it. So everything here is disposable. That is one of the issues that I think people, they don't understand that recycling is very healthy for the community. You can make money out of it. And once you understand that, you also go for the next step. That is not putting everything together, right? So let's talk about sorting technology.
Yeah, we've seen that especially also in Europe when we see the beginning of the recycling of cars. They took the car, took the fluids out, then had a big shredder, taking it through, then sorting magnetic, not magnetic, and then maybe density sorted, and you had a pile of aluminium, a bunch of aluminium where you have no clue what is inside. So you put it in a 226 or A380 and live with it, but nothing else you can do. But you cannot do much for high property alloys with that. So what can you do for that? Because when you look at the steel side, they have a very clear path how to sort things.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, the steel side, they've been here for a long time, right? Now, saying that, I think it is important to understand the importance of sorting and segregation. That for me is two different, let's say, activities. Some people, they believe that sorting and segregation is the same. No, for me, sorting is shredding processes that allow you to separate ferrous material from non-ferrous material, and then you take all the shit that is in the scrap, like plastic, wood, whatever it is there, you take it out, you use like eddy current technology, X-ray technology, but then, as Fabian just said, you will have the issue that you have all these aluminum alloys mixed in between each other, right? But then, when you go one step further, you will have LIPS technology that right now is an amazing technology and is being in use more often. So that will allow you to separate and segregate by alloys, not just by metal.
Can you explain LIPS a bit more?
Yeah, the LIPS technology.
What kind of machine is that?
It's a component that you add into the sorting line and is based on a spectrum. Looks like a spectrometer, very similar to a spectrometer. So what you will see is the different spectrum of the different alloys. So you will be able to segregate by 6,000 series, 7,000 series, 4,000 series.
Really?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a beautiful. Actually, I have an episode on my podcast with a woman that we're talking about LIPS technology for the entire episode. It's amazing. So you can see the technology and how it works. So one of the challenges that I'm seeing here in the US is what I said at the beginning, the communication between the scrapyard and the secondary cast houses. Why? Because they don't understand that if they can communicate better between each other, they will have more clean scrap coming out of the scrapyards, and they will have better aluminum recycling rates. That means more money out of the same volume. So that's one of the challenges that we have right now. So first step is collection, right? Next step, going into the scrapyard and having a really nice sorting technology that in the US is not that good right now, but they are moving in that direction because the problem in the US is flexibility. And with the Trump administration, we have more flexibility, right? It doesn't matter if you are creating a little bit more of CO2 emissions or if you are using more dirty scrap so you create black smoke or more dross, melt. But sustainability is something that really not just helps the environmental, but helps your pocket. Because if you are more sustainable, you will create more aluminum out of your scrap. That means money. And money is good, right?
Yeah, I like money.
Everyone's. It's never enough, right?
Wish I could say that, but...
Right. So from the scrapyard to the secondary aluminum producers, there is a gap. And they need to understand this. The gap for me, and we have a solution that we call a scrap ready to melt. That is a solution that allows the secondary aluminum producers to have super nice and clean and dry scrap. That means that when you put the scrap into your furnace, you will not create too much dross, zero black smoke. Obviously, you will reduce the CO2 emissions. And if you are not creating dross or oxides, what are you creating? More aluminum. It is simple. How to build that bridge between the scrapyard and the secondary aluminum facilities? Simple. The name is technology. And this technology is the coating systems, the coating or drying systems. That means that once you have shredded down everything, you have the sorting process, the segregation process, if you want to go in that direction, that is a step forward, you will have very small and light aluminum scrap that can be dirty, can have some dust, can have some irony material as well, can be wet, can have some oil from machining processes, or can have some coating or paint or plastic. So how people is dealing right now with it? Rotary furnaces. Let's put all this shit into the rotary furnace. It doesn't matter. It's very flexible. Even though when you can see that the recoveries are 80%, 82% out of 100%, come on, you are losing a lot of money there, right? When you have this in-between bridge that we call the coating system, that will allow you to input material with, I will say, a percentage of contaminant content or moisture content between 5 and 20%. And you will deliver, not brand new, but you will deliver bright aluminum, clean and dry with 0.01% contaminant content. So from 5% or 20% down to 0.01% is nothing. Can you imagine all the recoveries that you will have in that material?
That's a massive amount difference. And it's not just the scrap you have more, it's also the energy that you use to burn off stuff that you will never use and generate more waste that you have to pay again to put somewhere on a landfill. So that's really an impressive change.
But can I ask something? Did I get this wrong? Every second kilo that is used in aluminum industry is a recycled kilogram. Or the other one is
metal
primary,
to metal,
right?
Metal to metal, yes.
But if we think that it's not that super hard to believe that the US system is average. I mean, you have countries in Asia where oil is for free. You have countries like Sweden, which probably is better, but the average. If you're saying that they're burning away like 15% of the scrap because of bad processes, that means in average we could increase the global production demand with 7.5% because every other kilogram is primary.
Exactly.
7.5% is the growth rate of kicking in some new tech.
Yeah, and you don't need more aluminum. I mean, you will need it.
Exactly. That's my point. You don't need to bring in more. You can reduce the primary with 7.5%.
Exactly.
And still manage to fulfill the supply to the world. I mean,
exactly.
Hey, speaking carbon dioxide in Creta. I mean,
there
come
you
on.
go. And then you have something even better here, because while you are cleaning the material, you are taking out organic material. Organic material always can be translated into energy, right? Because it's an energy source. So when you approach in that direction and you really want to talk about sustainability, you need to go for a perspective of circular economy. That means that if you are creating energy, why you want to waste that energy? Recirculate the energy into the process itself.
Yeah,
so
why
you
just burn it?
Yeah, you reduce your energy consumption by using the energy that you are creating into the process.
No, I'm trying to digest here. I'm trying to digest the stupidity of throwing away 7.5% of the world's need of aluminum by making oxide and dirty smoke. And what's wrong with the world? I mean, it must be that A, scrap is too cheap, or B, it's too good payment, so it's better to just, burn the smoke and sit the ton per hour optimized on that level. It must be something wrong in the equation here, why people are not more careful about the resource.
100% agree. I think one of the issues is the mindset of the society. They don't understand that they are out there, have some technologies that can make them richer. They don't understand that, and scrap is cheap. Not that cheap right now. It's getting to the sky. If you go and see what is happening with Mexico right now, it's cheaper for them to buy primary aluminum than to buy scrap. So scrap is coming. Everything is coming into the U.S. because they are paying better. They don't want the scrap in Mexico.
Yeah, we've seen it also in Europe. That a lot of scrap from Europe goes to the U.S.
Yeah, and Asia.
Yeah,
and Asia, both directions. But I do have a question coming again from the foundry side. We see the developments of gigacasting, so the whole back one casting. Wouldn't that be the ideal way to build a car for circularity, because it's so easy to take away, and then one big casting, one alloy? Wouldn't that make the recyclability perfect, and therefore the sustainability and carbon footprint of these cars perfect?
Right, but how easy is to remelt a big structure? You need to shred it down. It's not that easy. Now, you're going to have different type of alloys. Let's talk about alloys. For example, Tesla alloys. It's aluminum, silicon alloys, but with a little bit of change. Yeah, they change it a little bit. So it's not the regular LC7, LC9 alloy. So you will also always have these different type of alloys. And when you get into the point that they are changing just a little bit, so you need to play a little bit more with the recipe, right? And also, upstream, when we talk about sorting and shredding technology, you will need more robust shredding technology to shred it down these big gigacasting structures. So it is going to be convenient from the point of view that is going to be clean and just one alloy? Yes. From the practicity point of view of shredded down and transportation, maybe not. So you need always to have this balance between one and another, right? It's not easy. Nothing is easy.
No, if it would be easy, everybody would doing it. But
exactly.
Which problem that really changes the world is easy? I don't know any.
100%.
There are a few, but they don't last that many minutes. So we have a situation. You said something about that the price of the scrap is higher than the primaries in the US. I think we had the same thing in Europe. How come? I mean, if I take a primary and I push in like 9-10% silicon, then I increase the price of the complete package, the complete alloy. Is that the thing, or otherwise I don't see why scrap should be more expensive than primary?
I think it's more related to the demand. If the demand for scrap is high and no one wants to buy primary aluminum because they want to buy more dirty scrap in order to increase the recycling rate, at the end of the day, you need to reduce your price if you want to sell. I think it's more related to that, right? There's obviously some geopolitical issues as well. As we just see what is happening in Venezuela, what is happening in China and Taiwan. So everything is helping in that direction, that to the point that, if you want to be sustainable, you need to use scrap. Okay, how many scrap do you want? Oh, this amount and this amount and this amount. Oh, okay, so we can increase the price because you will need it. And also, the OEMs, car manufacturers, they are asking to the foundries to have more recycling rates instead of using more primary, because they want green aluminum, right? Because make no sense. For example, if you see a EV manufacturer and they are manufacturing the aluminum 100% out of primary aluminum. Primary aluminum is generating a lot of CO2 emissions. Make no sense. You want to reduce the CO2 emission because you go electric, but you are using a high energy intense material on your product. So it is hard to say.
But how important is sustainability for car makers and OEMs, if I put it like that? It doesn't need to be a car maker in the US. Because let me give you the background story to this question. I'm working for Comtech, as you know, and we were super happy when CBAM came around, because we thought this is a big break, because with our technology you can reduce 40% of blah blah blah, and everything looked fine. We did a gazillion of PowerPoint, and then CBAM came and absolutely nothing happened. And when I look out to the landscape, because everybody's talking about sustainability and making green cars and all that, medical equipment manufacturers, they're pretty hot on this. Telecom guys, oh yeah, because they get a little bit higher price on the equipment to the operators like AT&T and those. Car industry, zero. And they are 80% of the markets. I mean, guess what? I mean, the big impact. So what I'm saying is that all this talking about sustainability, no one really wants to talk about that in Europe, because everybody's trying to survive selling any cars. I mean, we're going from 13, 14, 15 million cars down to 10. Imagine the shock we have in this region. So sustainability is not a big thing anymore in Europe right now, I would say. In practical life, in decision making, it's not a big thing.
No, it is not.
It's a big thing on boards directed slides, but not in the reality.
No. So, I mean, my impression was that exactly the same thing in the US. Maybe some medical guys, maybe some fancy Californian product owners. But when it comes to GM, Ford, Tesla, Lucid...
That is very interesting that you're bringing this subject to the table, because I think 2 years ago, I went to maybe it was an aluminum show or a RIMA show. I don't remember, but they had this conference with one of the representative from the Fed, and she was talking about how much money Ford was losing selling the electrical vehicles instead of selling the regular ones with gas. 15,000 per vehicle. Electrical vehicle that they were selling, because the price was too high, the price was too low, the cost was too high, but they were trying to get into the sustainability point, you know? Now, saying that, I will give you some data that I think is going to be complicated to digest. Maybe it's going to be not easy to understand, mostly because we are in a race for being more sustainable every day. At least is what we are hearing in the speech, political speech and, industrial speech. But when you go and you talk about, and then I will give you my own perspective of sustainability, my own opinion. But when you go and you check what is the CO2 content into the atmosphere today is 0.04%. Is nothing. If you go below 0.02%, you will kill all the plants because you have no CO2 to feed them. So you will have no oxygen sources. So you will kill everyone. So I don't understand where people start saying, oh, we need to reduce the CO2 emissions. No, for me, being sustainable is being able to make more out of the same. As we talked at the beginning, if you can make more aluminum out of the same volume that you are buying every month, just because you are improving your practices, you understand how to match the right technology with certain type of alloys to make more aluminum out of it, that is sustainability, not create less CO2 emissions.
Yeah, especially when you see all the crazy things. I mean, I must put some pressure on you to have your opinion on another thing. Okay, you say, okay, I'm making secondary scrap-based alloys.
Right.
Pretty cool, yeah. But I operate in a country where getting the control stamp might be a matter of friendship or even, I don't know, some kind of transaction.
Right.
and maybe they see paying someone a small fee to get an okay on a piece of paper stating, okay, this was actually made with solar cells and yada yada yada, and you hear Greta's playing the violin in the background. I mean, how can you trust the numbers? I mean, I'm from Sweden. I kind of trust the aluminum. It's a Swedish company. God damn it, they are neighbors to IKEA in Älmhult. So if they're lying, then everybody's lying. So I trust the guys. But if I go to certain countries east from here, how do you know? How do you know?
Oh, tricky question because it's complicated to say. I mean, you never can trust 100%, right? I think if you have a football match, a soccer match, and you need a referee there because they will steal the match, how you can trust people in high level chargers or whatever it is? It is impossible. It is what it is. But I will say that in order to make this better, definitely you need to apply better conditions. You need to be on the right path for better practices. At the end of the day, if you can make something that is better and is different, you will help your society. Even though if it's aluminum, if it's a car manufacturer, whatever it is, the numbers, they will always inflate or grow the numbers because they want something, right? And we are regular people. We just follow them and we just say, oh, okay, let's do that. Let's go in that direction. So at the end of the day, I think if you know something that can improve whatever industry you are, just do it. Just go and do it.
So a summary is like Julio from Dirty Scrap says that everything will be more sustainable, more effective, more money to everybody as long as we let technology guide.
Oh, definitely. Not just technology. Remember, this is metallurgic. It's not just putting technology there. It's knowing what you are doing. It's from the point of view of process-wise and technology-wise. But why technology is important? A furnace is a furnace. It's a commodity. When some customers ask me, why your furnace is different? I don't know. Probably it's the same. Maybe the price is a little bit different. Maybe I can put one logo here that is going to make the furnace different. It's a furnace.
And you can have probably a different color.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you burn the color off after 1 week in a foundry. But
Exactly. But from the process point of view, when you understand the technology, how the technology can match better with certain type of scrap and not with another type of scrap, then you understand how you can increase your recycling rates. Here in the US, people used to put everything in a rotary furnace. It doesn't matter, it's very flexible, it's fast, but you are burning your material. So why do you think we have rotary furnaces, river furnaces, multi-chamber furnaces, stack melters? Is because they are better for certain type of scrap than others. So when you understand that, you are able to give to the customer or to the industry a better approach, a sustainable approach. And I'm not talking about reduce the CO2 emissions. That is easy, super easy. Right? You just can improve your energy consumption or whatever it is. But sustainability for me is understanding how you can make more out of the same. And that's why when you can match process and technology, you are able to do what I am doing right now, or what I'm trying to do. It's not easy.
Yeah, so it comes back again, not having just a machine put there and then the machine doesn't know, have a solution and then find the right way for different routes, for different scrap types to get the optimal output. And then again, it's so fast that it comes back into your pocket when you get 7.5% more out of the same thing. And then also if you have then sorted scrap stream, suddenly you can sell that for a higher price than generic something.
Definitely. And you can use the speech that we have right now. You can sell your final product or your semi-finished product even a higher price because you will say, oh, I am making less CO2 emission out of this alloy. So this is completely green. So because it's completely green, it's a little bit higher in price. So you will make more money as well.
Try some car makers.
Right.
I'll come back on that. I'll come back on the money later on in this interview. Now I need to ask another question out of ignorance. There's a belief system when you speak with designers of heavy-duty equipment, like could be trucks, could be high strength applications in cars, whatever, that primaries are always better because they're cleaner. Is that true?
No, that is not true. I mean,
could you please elaborate a little bit?
Primary
Educate me
obviously
and the rest of the audience.
right. Primary is obviously more stable. Definitely. You don't have all the inclusions. It's like building a house from scratch instead of integrating something in an existing house, right? It's completely different. Now, talking about aluminum from the secondary cast houses can be as clean and as good on the mechanical properties as the primary. Yes, you have different companies here in the US that they are mostly using 90% of aluminum coming from the scrapyard, 10% of primary aluminum, and they are making aluminum ingots almost to the high quality that you can find into the primary sector. What do you need? Again, good practices. Understand the technology and understand your process. At the end of the day, you need super clean scrap coming out of the scrapyard, really good furnace that will allow you to make a good recipe. At the end of the day, alloying processes is like making a soup, right? You just need to understand the right way to do it. Then you need to control very well the temperature because you want to avoid oxidation during the casting process. And then you have everything in between: the gassing, filtering, temperature control, all this different stuff. So once you understand all of these different actions or steps into a foundry or secondary process, and you understand how to cast into the right machine with the right parameters, you will have a really good high quality ingot that we call RSI, right? But it is not true. It is completely doable to have really good high quality material coming out of dirty scrap, but you need to understand process and technology. That's it. It's simple.
So it's basically the easy route when you want to buy it from the cheapest worldwide without thinking what you actually buy. Then you say we just use primary, and then you're pretty sure that you get it.
Right.
But that's
okay.
just cutting short.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I understand what you're saying, Fabian. It's a little bit the lazy way.
It is.
Yeah, it's the way of purchasing when you don't know what you actually buy.
Yeah, yeah, and you
Exactly.
don't trust your surrounding, maybe.
And also is I think a matter of educating people that this is possible. I had a meeting yesterday with a customer, and we were talking about a solution, and he was like, oh, okay, I want to bring more dirty scrap, but the problem is my customers, they don't want it because they think that if I add more dirty scrap into the process, the quality is not going to be the best. It's not like that, but it's going to take a long path to go in the direction, because if you want to, the goals that we have for 2030 is recycling rates here. How are you going to do it if you are not able to teach the people that is consuming this metal that you will find or you will have the same quality in the metal that is coming from the recycling processes? How?
Test one of the things I used to say, that God gave us a beautiful material in aluminum. It's super strong. It's super, elongation is fantastic. Could be 14 to 20%. And then we found the guys do our utmost to kill all the good things about it. We mix it and we degas it badly and we rotate it and we let the oxide film grow, and then we force it into a shot sleeve that we fill with oil so you see a flame coming out for every portion, and then we push it into a tool that, we got still some water in the tool, because we're spraying that much, and then we say, why is it porosity here?
Yeah. What is happening? Come on, dude. I mean, you already
That's
know.
not porosity, it's light weighting because there's no aluminium there.
Yeah, it's probably floating. I saw a bed plate once that probably would float in my bathtub if I throw it there. Yeah.
So as I resume, you just need good sorting practices. You need to implement segregation technologies. You need to implement the coating and dryer systems. You need to understand how to match the right technology with the different type of scrap, and then everything downstream: filtering, degassing, temperature control. Simple.
But one question, that if you have a sizable foundry, I'm not talking about 5 die casting machines, so maybe I am, I don't know, but you're sizable. doesn't it make sense to do this yourself and learn to buy clean scrap and do the alloy and have this nice furnace? And I mean, why should you buy it from a smelter? I mean, it's A383 or 226 or whatever the alloy is. I mean, it's not recipes all around the corner on the internet in every corner.
It is not easy to vertically integrate everyone because remember, when you go and see a secondary facility and then you go and see a foundry, they are completely different. The process is completely different. So, yeah, the first thing that you need to understand when you want to go on the secondary aluminum casting industry is you need to understand how to buy the right scrap, how to play with the market. It's not easy. It's up and down every day is different. When you are in a foundry, I will say that it's not flat, but it's not that how do you say volatile? Probably, right? It's more stable. And also you have a raw material that is almost your alloy. When you are playing with recycling, you need to understand better alloying processes because probably you can find some aluminum chips and extrusion scrap that is going to match 80%, 90% the alloy that you want to produce. But in some point, you just can't find it because it's not in the market. So you need to understand how to play with that as well. It's not easy. You can vertically integrate your company. Yes. It's easy. No. You need to understand that you will belong to a totally different industry. It's the same thing that why secondary aluminum producers are not opening their own scrapyards. Same thing, because they will need to understand how to buy, how to sort, how to segregate, blah, blah, blah. So they prefer to release this or rely this on a third party. But that is the issue.
Or just buy the whole company that operates the scrap yards.
Well, that is a good
But if
idea.
you look in Asia, typically Vietnam and countries around I'm not speaking China primarily, speaking south of China. I have came across now 3-4 times foundries. They're pretty sizable, and they say, no, we make our own alloy. They buy a lot of scrap and do a lot of things. And I always thought that it's because they have a hardship getting the right alloys that they need. So instead of trying to import 226 for a German customer, they make a 226.
Right. I think it's easier for the scrap jar to become a secondary cast house than a secondary cast house integrate vertically to make also their own scrap jar, because that's what I am seeing here in the US. The problem, again, is when you are moving from one industry to another without full understanding what it's going to take to make more money out of it, I can say that those secondary melters are making zero money and the scrap jar is putting some more money here to keep the foundry moving forward because they don't have the right technology. So they are buying scrap, melting, but they also are selling scrap. So at the end of the day, you don't understand very well what is happening between the two different approaches. So again, for me is fully understanding about the process and the technology, and then vertical integration is going to be easier. And that's the path. At the end of the day, if you can integrate your company vertically, you will make more money, of course.
Yeah, but you have to be sizable then.
Yes.
I mean, we're speaking about learning a market. You have a couple of buyers full-time that probably not cheap. You have different processes. You probably need to invest a lot of technology. Even if it looks dusty and dirty, you're buying a lot of stuff. Yeah, I get it. But
And you also need a flexibility that you're not going from we're buying ingots from company XYZ to, we make everything by ourselves, that you can scale it up, that you also have the flexibility that if you have a production process running, you need a constant flow of metal. But when the market is not there, you cannot buy the scrap to an effective market rate. So you need to see where to go and plan for that.
Yeah.
But this is secondary. Then you have to feed the beast. Primary. What's happening with primaries in the US?
Oh, good question.
Should we bring another cup of coffee and extend it a couple of hours, or is it just a black hole? I don't know.
It is. I mean, we are seeing a lot of posts. If you go to LinkedIn or you go to these big magazines that they talk about aluminum, everyone right now is putting the efforts, at least in the US, on mining and bringing new primary aluminum companies. So you have Century Aluminum that they said last year that by January, This year, they will run the company 100%. That is something that is not happening for the last 40 years in the US. The problem is we have two different problems here in the US. The first one is maybe accidentally, US fell into a dependency of illegal immigrants' manpower. That's one of the issues. Why? Because you can pay them less, less benefits, so you will be more competitive because your cost, manpower cost, is not that high. The second problem is energy cost. Imagine that for you to be able to set up here primary aluminum facility, you need, and to be profitable, you need to pay $40 per kilowatt per hour. Talking about the energy point of view, $40. That's what you need. But if you go and see AI companies, tech companies, they are willing to pay 125 per kilowatt per hour. How do you compete with those guys?
You don't.
You don't. You don't. Maybe you go to Venezuela and you take all the oil and you bring it here. So I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking aloud, right? But that's the issue. So when I went to Dubai a couple of months ago for a show, and I heard that EGA was moving forward with this primary that they want to build here in the US, investing $4 billion. But also I heard that probably they will just make the announce, but not moving forward. Why? Because energy cost is not going to help them to be profitable.
It's killing the business case. Yeah, but
you first have to build your own power source before you can build up a smelter.
Yeah, and then the CFO, the first day when you start to smelter, your CFO is coming in and say, you know what, Staffan, I think I'm about shutting you down because I have this offer from Google.
There you go. There you go.
So why invest in the smelter or primary works when you can actually start a power plant and sell the energy to Google instead directly?
Energy is the future. And I mean, definitely if we want to reach the goals that we have for 2030, we need more primary aluminum. I think we will need around 9 million tons more of primary aluminum in order to reach the recycling goals that we want to reach. It's going to be easy.
That is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And not just that. In order to build a primary facility here in the US, you need between 5 and 10 years because all the permits, I mean, it's complicated. So it's not easy. It's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah, you're back with you. You said 5 to 10 years.
5 to 10 years to build a facility, a primary facility here, because all the permits, environmental regulations, energy sources, location. Come on. I mean, do you really think that we will see a primary facility running in the next 3 or 4 years? Not at all. Impossible.
Then it's 2030.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I heard also that one thing that's hindering in the US is that you have a county law, then you have a state law, and then you have the federal law.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not always pointing at the same demand. So something that's accepted
they never
by
pointed at
the state could actually be forbidden by the county. And then when you move the ladder up and you try to get a presidential order, then no.
Too much. It's super complicated. So it is going to happen? Maybe. I am not 100% sure. I think people is willing to do it. I think right now that we have Trump administration and the tariff setting on place, definitely is something that people wants to do. But the problem is going to take too much time. By the time that these people is already investing here, we will have a different administration that maybe they will change everything. So who wants to take this risk? Not me, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, also with that risk is that when you have the energy that someone else can make way more money than you by using that energy, then basically it's something where you can say, okay, from a state point of view, okay, that makes sense that we are on a global trade, that we are independent, have our own resources, but then it has to be basically state funded.
Yeah.
And it's basically a hobby project because you pour money in all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And which one does it will be? It's way easier to just keep importing.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
It is.
Then I need to check something with you, Julio. In Europe, there's a trend where car makers and OEMs and all these people, they start to discuss more and more and more about global agreements of material supply. This has been a dream from I don't know, Daimler, Volkswagen, whoever. I'm just picking some names here to keep this stable and to push down price for smelters and so forth. Do you see the same thing in the US? Or is it impossible? Is it a dream? Is it a German dream that you can plan that long?
I think it's complicated. If you are seeing what is happening right now with Trump administration, if you see what he did with Europe, come on. I mean, Europe right now sold everything to the US. I mean, they commit on big investment. I think was $150 billion investment in the US or something like that. This is freaking crazy amount of money. And they also ask them to buy energy from the US for the next, I don't know how many years. So it is going to happen something that you just said? No, because right now, US have the power to nail everyone, talking about Latin American and European market as well. They just did it. So I am seeing fair trade here? Not at all. And we have this, I will say, war with Russia and China to see who is going to be the first one in the economy right now. And that's what happened with Venezuela. Why do you think everything what happened in Venezuela, why was the reason? It wasn't drug dealers, not at all. I mean, this is a sensitive topic that I don't know if I want to dig in too much in it, right?
But let's guess oil.
But it's right. But it's more deep in that than that, because I'm a Colombian guy, so I know how the cartel works, how everything works, and I know who owns the cartel scene. It's not the drug lords. But I will stop right there because it's a complicated subject. But definitely, Venezuela have oil, biggest reserve of oil in the world, but also they have a lot of rare earth elements and minerals. And if you are competing right now with aluminum, AI, and chips and technology, what do you want? Gas, minerals, and rare earths. That's it. It's simple.
Yep.
Yeah, germanium and all these.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So fair trade between US and other countries? I don't think so. I don't know.
It depends who defines what fair is.
Yeah, normally the winner does.
Yeah,
exactly.
but I think from a European perspective, this is quite interesting that we see new streams of aluminum, and we see actually some investments in primaries, and we know that are there Norwegians and others are picking up, because we have good energy in Norway, for example, for hydro plants, and Iceland and all that. So because what we have survived is lesser and lesser aluminum from Russia due to the war. And I think the war has been going on for 4 years now. So probably when they comes back, who wants their aluminum? Because they have created a new supply. And a little bit the same thing with the US, I think. That they're forcing us to take action in certain ways. So, I don't know. I don't know if tariffs long-term is the right thing to do. But I know one thing. It is fair when you're competing with someone who's kicking in so much subsidiaries into production like certain Asian countries are. I mean, how can you survive otherwise? Interesting. Now we have covered geopolitics, how to make quality out of secondaries. We have moved around these primaries. Seem to be a very delicate task to get that thing in order. But the final question, our podcast, to give you the background, is about money. Because we like money, and we try to discuss how to make more money if you're in the foundry industry. I mean, it's a little bit boomer starting in that industry in the first place, but one has to try. So here comes the question. How can I make more money if I'm a foundry or an OEM on the scrap market and alloy market?
Well, I will give you my perspective from the US. When I started going into a foundry, they sucks. And sorry about that, but because they are making so much money out of the products that they are selling, they don't care about, let's say, the good practices. I saw aluminum overflowing out of the furnaces into the floor in those foundries because the die casting machine is full. They cannot operate it. So they are not, let's say, taking out this aluminum into an ingot mold or whatever it is to remelt it down. They don't care. They just let the overflow go into the floor. So you can see like cascades of aluminum. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? It's because they don't care. I think they can make more money out of the process that they have right now if they can understand that if they care more about the aluminum that they have inside the furnace instead of rely on the aluminum on the capacity of the machines, they will make more money because they will care more about the aluminum. They will have more aluminum for the process they have. This is my perspective.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if you have a part for $10, you have $5 of aluminum and $5 of process, basically, for a blank.
There you go.
Please try to challenge me on this one, but after making like 200 offers, end of the day, plus minus 5%, you're
there you go. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. So if you don't waste 3-5% extra on that one, you actually increase your margin with a decent number.
Yep. Yeah, then you have to add also the 2-3% of aluminium that you're pouring on the floor. Then you had the energy to melt it down, to clean it all. So that sums up quite quickly and gives you an additional great margin. And looking at Europe and Asia, you already see the margins are razor thin at the moment. And that's something that will trickle down to the US as well. With the protective measures, it will take a bit of time, but that is coming their way as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that is your hint for the foundry. Take care and look at your aluminum as it was the last glass of water on the earth. There you go. If you are an OEM then, product owner, how can you make more money out of alloys? I mean, you're buying a lot of them indirectly to get your components.
Right. That's a tricky question. I don't know. I think out of alloys, if you are our OEM, what kind of OEM?
Car maker.
I don't think you will make more money out of alloys. You will make more money out of, how do you say, when, for example, you can increase your miles per, how do you say?
You can lightweight your vehicle,
exactly.
Or you can
can improve
higher
your
strength materials to use less aluminium.
There you go. You can improve your vehicle mileage consumption because you have lighter aluminum alloys, so you can compete against Tesla. So you will say, you can make a long trip with this car because you don't need to stop every amount of time to charge the car or whatever it is. I think that is going to be the approach because at the end of the day, cars are manufacturers, they are selling commodities.
There's a certain dollars per kilogram you get for a product.
It's a luxury. It's a freaking car.
Yeah. So interesting discussion, guys. So now we understand how to make a good alloy or a bad alloy from recycling. We understand the hurdles of starting more primary production. We understand also a little bit on the geopolitical thing around the US. And now we also understand how you actually make more money out of your aluminum, regarded as the last glass of water on earth.
Yep.
What an ending, I would say. Thank you for being with us, for shining a light on how to use scrap efficiently and profitably. And then I would say, don't forget to subscribe to don't miss more of such insights. And then we see us in the next podcast. And thank you, Julio, for being here.
Oh, no, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
See you around in the next conference.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.